Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. So last year I made a video on CRT displays. If you have watched it, kudos to you, you're gonna see another one from me again. If you haven't, go watch that and then come watch this, I guess. Or you could just watch other videos out there, because I've watched plenty of CRT videos. Anyways, about 3 weeks ago, somebody by the name of JuanMe555 commented on this video and asked me if I still have my CRT monitor, and if so, what GPU am I using it with. And I told him it's with a GTX 770, obviously, and I do want to get another CRT monitor. Purely, I want to get one that has higher resolutions and refresh rates. Basically, I can do like 1600 by 1200 at like 85 hertz, something like that. And I told him a lot of things, but those were the important parts. Anyways, he replied with, have I ever tried interlaced scan? Because it can severely extend the capabilities of my monitor well beyond what I thought. And he told me he can, kind of guide me and just help me, what to do, how to set it up, this and that. And, we went through a lot of conversations, I guess you could say. We commented back and forth, and we talked about DisplayPort being the superior standard. Regardless, he also told me that when it comes to NVIDIA cards with drivers that were released after 2018, regarding interlace and CVT timings, they're glitched. So basically, if you try to run a modern GPU like a 5070, 5060, and you're connecting your CRT monitor via a DP to VGA converter, it's gonna be problematic if you are going to run interlace resolutions with CVT timings. But if you're running progressive resolutions, there are no problems there. Anyways, though, he told me I can run resolutions like 1080i, 1440i, or 1200i at high refresh rates. Regardless, though, he also told me to keep this in mind, that the best GPU for CRT monitors is the GTX 1080 Ti. Seriously, that's what he said. This is kind of weird, but I guess it makes sense? Kinda? So before I go any further, I would love to explain to you guys what interlacing is, and how beneficial it is for CRTs, and especially with CRT monitors, given that CRT monitors, have a clear, crisp, sharp image in progressive resolutions. Of course, in interlace, they look a bit, I guess you could say, less sharp, but they still look pretty good. Anyways, though, let's get on with the explanation. What is interlaced resolution? Let's talk about interlacing, one of the most misunderstood parts of video technology, and why CRT monitors and TVs absolutely thrive on it, while modern displays struggle. Interlacing was invented all the way back in the 1930s, during the early days of television. At the time, engineers had two major problems. One was broadcast bandwidth was extremely limited, and second, sending full images at low refresh rates created visible flicker that was uncomfortable to watch. Their solution was genius. Instead of sending a full frame at once, they split every frame into two fields. The first field contains all the odd-numbered horizontal lines, and the second field contains the even ones. These fields alternate rapidly, 50 or 60 times per second, depending on the region, PAL and NTSC, PAL being 50 and NTSC being 60. 50 Hz, 60 Hz. So even though you're only getting half the picture each time, you're seeing them so quickly that your brain blends them together. The result? Smooth motion, reduced flicker, and less bandwidth used. This is why early TV formats were labeled 480i or 576i. The I simply means interlaced. Now here's where CRTs come in. CRTs draw images using an electron beam, scanning the screen line by line. Because the beam is already scanning continuously, showing odd and even fields separately, fits naturally into the way CRTs work. There is no delay, no buffering, and no extra processing. A CRT doesn't care if the signal is progressive or interlaced. It just draws whatever timing you send it. This is why CRT monitors can handle wild resolutions, high refresh rates, and weird custom interlace modes with ease. Interlacing actually improves the CRT experience in some cases. It allows extremely high vertical resolutions like 1440i or even 1600i, without requiring a massive pixel clock. That means you can push a CRT monitor to resolutions it couldn't normally run progressively, while still keeping motion smooth. But now let's compare this to modern screens. LCD, LED, and OLED displays are sample and hold technologies. They don't draw lines, they store an entire frame in memory, then hold it on the screen until the next one arrives. When they receive an interlaced signal, they can't show fields individually, they have to de-interlace it. That means extra processing, added input lag, and sometimes visual artifacts like combing or smearing. This is why flat panels don't like retro consoles and broadcast sources unless you use an upscaler. So to wrap it up, interlacing was invented in the 1930s to reduce bandwidth and flicker. CRTs are the perfect match because their line-by-line scanning works naturally with interlaced signals. Modern LCD OLED displays hate interlacing because they must convert it to progressive frames, adding lag and blur. Interlacing may be old tech, but on a CRT, it still performs beautifully, and it's one of the reasons these classic displays remain unmatched for certain contents. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's all I could say about interlace scan, interlace resolution, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah. Anyways, regardless, was the experience great? For me, since I experienced it with my own eyes and not a camera. Yeah, it really is great, and I really loved it. Honestly, like in this video, you're seeing footage of me playing games that I used to run on the CRT monitor at like lower progressive resolutions. And right now, I'm running these games on 1080i resolution, and they look pretty great. And honestly, they look much better than flat displays. And then there's like the competitive side. I tried Counter-Strike 2 on 1920 by 1080i. One thing I'm gonna say is that you have to, for some games, use the windowed mode. But yeah, games looked perfectly. The games looked way better. They looked perfect. I mean, Far Cry 3, man. Far Cry 3 was pretty great. It was so smooth. Like, it felt so snappy. And then the game's art style just looked pretty cool on the CRT. It gave me a new experience. An experience that I wish I had when I first played Far Cry 3. But the game, with the interlaced resolution and no post effects, well, aka motion blur, was pretty great. And yes, I'm not talking like great, like the second coming of Jesus, as somebody put it in my previous video. But it really looked, you know, better and different, and the responsiveness was so great. It was just so responsive. Also, you can get scan lines on interlaced resolutions, which is pretty great for, video games, retro video games, Genesis, Mega Drive, NES, SNES games, or even the Nintendo 64 games, which is, it's a CRT thing, but I didn't know interlacing could do that. But it looks pretty great, honestly. So anyways, now I'll be showing you how you can, create these resolutions. More specifically with, of course, CRU. You could try with NVIDIA as well. You could go to the NVIDIA control panel and, from there you can, create interlaced resolutions, custom interlaced resolutions of your own. But I'd say you shouldn't do that. You should use a custom resolution utility. You can download it from the internet for free, as long as you're downloading it from an trusted website. You're okay. Regardless, I would use the NVIDIA control panel to create custom resolutions, or just, custom interlaced resolutions when it's not recognizable in Windows. When I created a resolution with CRU that's not recognizable, that Windows doesn't recognize it, alright? Or video games don't recognize it. That's where I go to the NVIDIA control panel and create those custom resolutions. But yeah, I recommend you guys install CRU. But anyways, you open CRU, you come to the extension blocks, and you click on this. Yours could be different. You might not even have this. You might have to actually create an extension block. Anyways, I have one. I click on it, and then there are the detailed resolutions. And as you can see, I've created these resolutions. So what do I do is I hit add here, and let's just say, for example, I create the resolution like 800 by 600. Now, it's not in. I haven't clicked this yet, so it's just gonna create progressive resolution. And then I change the refresh rate to, let's just say 160 hertz. What you have to do is tick interlaced, and as you can see, our actual kilohertz is at 50, which is in the normal range. I guess you could say it's within the range. All right, it's within the range that the CRT monitor can handle. Like the CRT monitor isn't gonna lose itself and go, oh, I can't display this. You have to actually look out, because if this is higher than, I guess, 70 kilohertz, I think, you might not get anything at all. Anyways, now as you can see here, the vertical is now halved to 300. So it's 800 pixels by 300 lines, which is, equals to 600, something like that. And then there's the timing. Now, with the timing, you have to change this from manual to, CVT standard. Now, you could also change it to GTF standard, but, that really depends, because if CVT standard doesn't work for you, you could, come back to the CRU software and change it to GTF, and it might work. So, yeah. And there are the CVT, RB, RB2 standards, which I think are for, I believe it's for CRT TVs. Like some specific CRT TVs, I think. I could be wrong. We hit CVT standard, we hit OK, we hit OK again, and we hit OK, and then we press restart 64, which it does this, as you can see, and it's normal. Anyways, you could, if nothing worked, you could always press F8 to get into recovery mode, which I think what you can say is recovery mode is basically a reset mode that brings the display back, like image, right? Anyways, we go to display settings. Anyways, we have 800 by 600. Sorry for the flicker. If you have problems with flickers, you can look away. And then we hit 160 hertz. There. Well, it's kind of terrible for you guys, but anyway, so what we did was we created the resolution in CRU. Alright, we created the resolution in CRU by going in here and hitting add, and we create the 800 by 600 I at 160 hertz, and we did all that. We pressed restart 64, and then we came to the display settings and we selected this resolution. But the thing is, Microsoft, or I don't know what's wrong with Microsoft, they always select the lowest refresh rate, or the refresh rate that's progressive, the resolution that's progressive and not interlaced. Anyways, if that happens, what you do is, when you change to the resolution that you created, you come to the advanced display settings and you look at the refresh rate. If it doesn't say, like, for example, like mine does, 160 hertz interlaced, if it says like 75 hertz and nothing else, you change it and you get this, which, if you guys can't see it, I've got scan lines now at this refresh rate. I don't know about 120 hertz. Let's try 120 hertz. Yeah, not really. There isn't any scan lines. Oh yeah, there are actually. I didn't notice them. Anyways, so yeah, that's how the process works. That's how I created 1920 by 1080i, 1280 by 800i, 1024 by 768i. Anyways, like I showed you guys, that's how it works. That's the process. And yeah, you don't see it, but you can see that half the screen isn't here. And Microsoft does this. I don't know why. It just defaults to 60 hertz rather than the much better 120 hertz. And yeah, sometimes I get blank, like the image disappears and I get a black screen, just like in a millisecond, and then it just comes back. I think it's the adapter, like the converter, that's limited here. But yeah, the only fix I found was using 100 hertz, which to you guys it's flickers and everything. So yeah, I'm just gonna stay with 120 hertz. But yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Honestly, I wish I knew this before. In my first video, I could have talked about it, but here I am. This was kind of a, I guess you could say, tutorial on how to do it. And in some resolutions, you really get scan lines. Like right now, I have scan lines, obviously at 1920 by 1080i, 120 hertz. I've got scan lines. They're not that noticeable, but when you go and run a resolution like 1280 by 720, 160 hertz, you get scan lines. A lot of them, and they're just noticeable. Anyways, though, that was it. So, in conclusion, does this change anything? Does this mean CRTs are the best displays that were ever made? No. And I'm not here to brainwash you or convince you that, CRT monitors are really great and you should buy them and you shouldn't look at OLEDs or QOLEDs or whatever we get afterwards. That's a successor to OLEDs, which might be better. Who knows? Anyways, though, this video was more about me exploring and, learning things that I never knew were possible with a CRT. I never even thought of interlacing. You know, I I heard about it, but I never knew the concept of it, where it originated and what it was used for. All right? I don't know it was a CRT display feature. It's kind of like, when you think about it, it's kind of like an upscale. It's kind of like DLSS, FSR and XCSS, except this um, is for CRTs to run at higher, you could say higher resolution. Um, Technically, it's higher, but yeah. But in reality, computers still output, you know, the image as 1080p. They're sending 1080p signal to a CRT monitor that's running at 1080i. So you're not gonna gain any performance, if that's what some people out there think. But maybe I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe someone has proven that it does. I mean, I don't know. Um, but I do want to see that. I do want to make a video doing a comparison of frame rates. Because I do have a LCD, a 1080p LCD, and I do want to do this. I do want to compare a CRT's 1080i to a LCD's 1080p. And I want to see what frame rates we get. If we get anything higher than expected, then okay, I was wrong. But that's another video for itself. But the question is, to a lot of people, should I go buy a CRT monitor? Because you could do this. Why not? They're great, they got a great motion clarity, that no input lag, this and that. Well, look, buddy, look. If you want that, like, here's the thing. If you're curious, right? If you're curious about seeing what it's like to use a CRT monitor or TV, and you have the room for it, it's okay. Go buy one, as long as you find one for the right price. I'm not saying you should go and pay $3,000 for a CRT. You should pay lower. I'd say at minimum, it should be $5, maybe even free, actually. Like $0. Highest I would go would be, well, it really depends on the country. So for someone who lives in America, I think $100 is good, as long as the CRT that they're buying is good. It's a high resolution CRT monitor, or just a really great CRT TV that's big and has a lot of good features. If not, if it's something like mine, which I paid, I believe, $5. Yeah, I paid $5 for it. Like 1280 by 1024. If that's what kind of a CRT monitor it is, then yeah, you shouldn't pay anything higher than, say, $10, $20. All right, maybe even 25. Anything more than that, it's kind of stupid, unless it has something that other CRT monitors don't have. But anyways, unless it's a Sony Trinitron, I think we have some exceptions. But you have to do your research. You have to see if it's worth that value, and if it really is worth your money to, spend. Anyways, though, I'm not here, telling people, oh yeah, CRTs are better than OLEDs. OLEDs are great too, honestly. I think where OLEDs fail compared to CRTs is that they have, I guess you could say, not the best motion clarity when you look at it slowly. All right, you will not notice this. All right, but if you run your camera in slow motion, you can see that CRTs have the best motion clarity versus flat displays. And OLED is catching up, not gonna lie. OLED is catching up. That's not a lie. They really are catching up. And with more developments of flat displays, we're getting close to what CRT, what CRT displays had. We're getting close to what we had 20 years ago, except it's flat now. It's not big, it's not heavy, it doesn't consume a lot of power. And the community, they're doing a lot of things. The people that are into this stuff, they're really trying. I mean, there was this video I saw of a guy showing that you can do it. You can get you can get the best motion clarity from a flat display. He kind of figured it out. I have to look it up again because it's been a long time. I wanted to make a video on that, but I didn't, and I do want to. And the reason why I even bought a CRT, well, it was for the videos, but then the more I used it, the more my eyes were more comfortable with the CRT compared to the flat displays that I've used over the years. And I don't know why this is happening. I wish I knew. I don't know what it is. Like with flat displays, my eyes get hurt. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the reason is. When it comes to CRTs, my eyes are pretty fine. I used to, have tears coming out of my eyes whenever I use the flat display. With CRTs, I have no problems. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I know it doesn't make any sense to you. And here's the thing. A lot of things have happened in the past 2 months of me making this video and doing CRT stuff, I guess you could say. I bought another CRT monitor. Yeah. So what I did is that I made up my mind on maybe having two displays that keep my eyes in a good condition is better than having one that keeps them in a good condition versus one that makes my eyes suffer a lot. And I don't know, just using the LG M227WD was just not that good. I thought it was going to be great because, it has all the features that I expect. Obviously, that was not the case. I'd prefer playing my PlayStation 1 games on the CRT over the LCD because it doesn't look right. Anyways, I also learned that, sure, Juanmi was kind of right about, GTX 1080 Ti being the last best GPU for CRT monitors. There's a problem with what he said, and that's that, well, it is great, but me researching for a while now, it's great if you use, older drivers, I think you could say, because that's what I found, that's the result I found. So it basically retro games before 2017. But alternatively, you could use AMD's graphics cards, and with those, you're not gonna have much of a, problem running interlaced resolutions with DP, not HDMI, just DP to VGA, not HDMI to VGA. HDMI is different, DP is different. If you don't know, you should go up and look it up on the internet. You got the internet, dude. Come on. I do want to change my graphics card, and I do want to, run both CRTs on interlaced resolutions, as long as the DAC on my AMD GPU will not be limited. And I do want to see if there is a workaround, I guess you can call it, on the GTX 770 to run my second CRT monitor, which is a Samsung SyncMaster 793DF, in interlace mode. If there is, it would be pretty great, and I would make a video showing every one of you exactly what you have to do. I mean, a lot of you out there who have CRTs, 99% of you, or sorry, 75% of you, 80% of you use NVIDIA cards. So you already know what to do to run interlaced resolutions. And I just want to try interlaced resolutions on both of these monitors. And I just want to do the ultra widescreen. I know it's stupid. You should have another CRT monitor for that because obviously, the bezels on CRTs aren't that great. But I'm stupid, so I'm gonna try it anyways. Anyways, though, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. And also, if you're new to the channel, if this is your first time you're watching my video, please subscribe. It really helps me a lot. It really helps me to make these videos, these videos that are just, videos out of curiosity. I sometimes on the side I make MIDI remixes of soundtracks that everybody loves. And sometimes I make good tracks, sometimes I make the worst tracks, I guess you could say. Sometimes I make the boring ones as well. The very, very boring ones. Regardless, though, please support this channel because there is a lot of things I want to do. And I'm sorry if this video took so long. Personal life and everything just got in the way. I wanted to make a lot of videos. I had a lot of videos that I'm kind of planning on making for you guys that are all not kind of CRT related, but anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Again, subscribe to my channel, leave a like on this video. It really means a lot to me. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you're interested, subscribe. I've already said that. Anyways, hope you all have a nice day. I'll see you all in the next video.